and this station.
Your child was embarrassed when you arrived at their basketball game. 75% of parents or guardians report current alcohol use. Drinking alcohol can cause harm to children and loved ones. By drinking less, your child will be excited to see you at their basketball game. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Are you a veteran looking for a new companion animal? A dog, a cat, or maybe something else? The Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs Vets Get Pets program can cover up to $350 of your pet adoption fees. Visit veterans.nebraska.gov/vetsgetpets to learn more about program requirements and how to apply. Want to help support the program? Get your Vets Get Pets specialty license plates from the Nebraska DMV. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is area race announcer James Rowland. Join me and Bree Fansteel every Sunday night from 7 to 8 on 93.7 The Ticket for the Finish Line, where we cover all things motorsports from local racing to racing around the world. Every Sunday night from 7 to 8 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Football season is nearly here, and your long wait for year 2 of Matt Rule is almost over. Gear up for the season with 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days from July 23rd to the 25th, live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Jay Foreman, Amon Green, Adam Carrick. Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weeknights. Once again, Harrison Arndt on the ones and twos, as always, come 6 o'clock. Shout out to everybody walking on the street. And if you want to join in, 402-464-5685, Sartor Heyman text line. We got the second hour of former Huskers. We just had DeMornay Pierce-Snell, the former wide receiver, special teams threat. Now we move on to the former Husker tight end, Chancellor Brewington, the host of What's Brewing, Chancellor Brewington. That being said, house cleaning out of the way. And like I said before, watch the streams. Let's bring them in. Chancellor Brewington, how's it going on this Tuesday night?
It is going great. I'm glad to be on the show tonight. We got a great show coming up. It's so interesting, man. I was just thinking, it's so interesting being back home and you run into people or even family that you haven't seen in a while, and they say, in a good way though, they say, you're just a little different. And it's like, oh, okay, that means I've been growing. That's a good thing. But no, it's awesome to be back home. Like I said, just visiting some family. Seeing some new faces, a new face in the family. The Stillies had a baby, so definitely just awesome to be home and to experience it, man.
Absolutely. Congratulations to them. It's always something worth celebrating. Good to give them their shout out. Yeah, typically around this time, I get that same thing, and I take it as I don't take any grain of salt. I'm like, good. I hope I'm different. I imagine myself even just 2 years ago. It's crazy what maturity does to you in just a couple of years.
Right. No, that's it. And that's the correct response is for someone to say, yes, I can't put my finger on it, but something. But I know it's out of good spirits. But to start the show off, Quarter Century Wisdom is actually about to be Quarter Century Wisdom because I turned 25 coming up here soon. So it's not going to just be a it's gonna be actually a true reference.
Yeah,
But
that'd be perfect. Then the stars will align. 25-minute segment, two 25-year-olds, quarter century. I mean, couldn't be better.
hey, couldn't be better. I guess there's power in numbers somewhere, right? But so to start off the show, since it is a sports show, and sometimes I don't incorporate any sports into this segment, I'll try to do so. And I thought of a story that I could tie into life. And if it doesn't make sense, Harrison, just say it doesn't make sense, because that means the listeners don't understand it either. But I'll give it my best try. So in football, we have there's this concept, right? And it pertains to life. There's so many things in football that pertain to life. And I'm so blessed to be able to have the experience of playing football. But in football, we all know this, or maybe we don't know, but there's this thing called man-to-man, right?
Yep.
And there's many different ways to play man-to-man. And so when you look at man-to-man from an offensive perspective, you look at man-to-man as you have to beat the man in front of you, right? And the thing is, though, you are given an assignment, or some people can call it an assignment, or you can call it a route, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're given a route, right? And you have to win the route no matter what the defense does. So the defense can be inside of you, and you have an in-breaking route. You still have to complete the route. You can have an outside breaking route, and they're outside of you, but you still have to complete the route, right?
Yep.
But there's this technique that the defense plays, especially if you're a slot receiver, or if you're a tight end. They play this technique called catch. And so catch is really difficult it can be difficult for the offensive guy if the DB is sitting at a certain depth. Okay, are you following me, Harrison?
Yep, we're still there. I think most of if you've watched just a little bit of football, I think people can follow what you're putting down right now.
Perfect. So here's where it gets juicy. So if the defender is sitting at 8 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have an 11-yard route on, and he's sitting at 8 yards, meaning he's in catch technique, meaning he's not moving until you approach him, and he's ready to collision you and interrupt and break your route, right? You still have to get to 11 yards. There's a principle on offensive side of the ball. We call it, don't let the defense dictate your yardage or your depth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you get to 8 yards and he causes you to shorten your route, you're wrong, because you were told to go 11 yards because that's the assignment. That's your route. That's what the play calls for. That's what you've been given in the huddle to execute, right?
Yep.
So now I want you to act like this is 3rd and 8, right? Or let's go 3rd and 9. We need 1 more yard.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense is sitting at 8 yards right there. And it'd be really easy and convenient if you just stop your route at 8, because then it would just be easier. I won't get into technical terms, but then you wouldn't have to use certain techniques, right?
Right.
But if you press it deeper, it actually opens him up, and it allows you to get open faster. And I correlate this to life. And I know some people are probably like, what is he talking about? How does this correlate to life? If we've been talking about dreams and where you want to go and how you want to get there and all these different things. If you know where you're going in life, right? You know, this is the route I have. This is the assignment. It's at 11 yards. It's this business to get to here. It's these different things, right? If you let the circumstance, the defender, right,
Mm-hmm.
sitting at 8 yards, if you allow the situation to dictate how far you go in your assignment, how far you go in your calling, how far you go in whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, you can fill in the blank with whatever. Then you're in the wrong. You're in the wrong, and you don't execute the play. And essentially, if you don't get to your depth, if you don't get to your calling, the play doesn't work, and the play or your team doesn't succeed. That could be your family. That could be the business you're a part of. That can be all these different things. So I guess the moral of the story is, don't let life circumstances dictate how far you are going to go, because at the end of the day, it only has to do with you. There's a principle that Coach Frost always used to say in route running, and it pertains to life, bro. He used to say, always run fast, and it's not act as the defender is not there. but it's almost act like just run the route. Just run the route. It's just run the route. Run the route. So if you pretend that's your life or connect it to your life, hey, bro, it's just do what needs to be done. Yeah, there's someone going to be in the way probably. There's probably going to be a circumstance. There's probably going to be a little hiccup, a trial. But get to your depth, run your route, get to your assignment, get to your calling, do what you're here on the earth for. Like we talked about the other day, the Lieutenant General said the first thing, the leadership is knowing why you're here on earth and getting to your assignment, getting to your calling, getting to why your purpose, getting to your purpose. So I guess that's how I'll start Quarter Century Wisdom off. And I hope that made sense to somebody. I just need one person.
I think that made sense to just about everybody out there. But, it's give the fans a little bit of credit now, Brewington. No, I'm just messing around with you. I think most people would be able to pick that one up. And then to add to the analogy, you can definitely, take that yard 8 instead of 9. What's supposed to be 10, 11, whatever it may be. It's always easier to take that easier route too. The problem with that, the easier route, if we want to continue with this analogy, always makes you think what could have been as well. I mean, if you're short of that first down, I mean, there's nothing worse when, sure, you might get the short-term gratification. You might even look around, make excuses as to why you didn't do what you're supposed to do, which is arguably even more dangerous when you don't even realize it yourself that, you could have done something better. And now you're looking around trying to blame it on, say, the defense. Say you can even try to point out the quarterback. He gave me a bad ball. He didn't throw it out enough, regardless if you went out and actually followed the route like you were supposed to. But it's always easier. It's always easier to go away from the defense in this scenario, from the obstacles in life. But when you go away from it all the time and you avoid friction, you leave a lot on the table. And if we want to continue with that analogy, I think that's my 2 cents to it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, I mean, as well, going even further on the analogy, there's so many times where I've been in a lot of practices, game situations too, where a guy runs a short route and it messes up the whole scheme.
Yeah.
Everything gets thrown out the window. The quarterback's timing is messed up. Someone gets in the hole too fast. The quarterback, now he's into his second progression way too fast. Or he's into the progression too slow because the guy took too long. Just little things like that. So you can take that right back to life and say, okay, because I didn't get there, or I took too long, or I cut it short, I took a shortcut. That's the reason why there's accountability that needs to be taken of why the idea didn't go through, why the dream didn't manifest itself, why our family is in the condition that it is. If you want to take it that deep, but it really all starts with you. And I read this book. It's called Tiger Heart, Tiger Mind. I just finished it today, and it's talking about empowering your dreams. And I think one thing that we miss sometimes, and I'll say this, it's convicting, and it puts a lot of pressure on you, but it's good pressure. It puts out, not pressure, responsibility on you, but also pressure as well, that your dreams are in your hands. You actually have control over your dreams. And so it comes to this idea of like the depth on the route. Like, you are the one running the route. You're the one running this race of life or of calling or purpose that you have in your hands to actually run the right route, to get it to the right place, to get to the right depth, to make everyone around you better. Because if you want to change people around you, the first place and the only place you can start is with yourself.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and just as we continue to add to this, and don't worry, we will talk some Husker football as we got fall camp starting up. And looking at your notes here, I hope we don't got time for segment number 3. Hint, hint, wink, wink. LeBron James. But yeah, just when you think about that too, and I always think about this, especially where we're at today. I don't know what it is, but it just seems to be an overbearing victim mentality. And there's plenty of people, like great people, that don't have that mentality at all. But I don't know if it's, and I'll ask you this, if it's something to where that's scary to accept when you stop putting blame, even if you did get a bad set of cards, which totally happens. But once you realize it is totally on you, regardless of the defender in front of you, the circumstances around you, that can be a little bit of anxiety ridden, knowing that it is completely up to you how this thing's going to shake out. There is no where you can lean or look or point otherwise for excuses. And once you accept that, it does put pressure on you, but you can allow that friction to be better or let it crush you. I guess I want your 2 cents on that. I just see that going around, and I wonder if that's fear driven of, once I accept that even if I was a victim, it's the truth of the reality in the world. It's cruel, but nobody seems to care that much. It's still going to fall in your own hands. Is it just something about that fear of, once you accept that reality, you truly have put all the pressure on yourself and you give yourself no outs? I mean, you make it up to you if it's going to work or not.
Right. I think the number one thing that happens in this, and I can only, this is knowledge that I've bought, because it's something that I went through. It's not something I just read from a book. This is something I learned, that it's like that aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
But that aha moment is kind of frustrating, right? Because if you knew your whole life, when you were, thought you were going to do this, all these different things, if you knew your whole life that it starts from within you, everything that great that's ever happened in the world starts from within you, and then you realize that you can create that within yourself too. Like you said, it creates a lot of responsibility, but at first it kind of frustrates you.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why hasn't everyone taught me this? And then the next thing that happens is now you become empowered and you finally get to take control of your situation. But I think what happens is, a lot of people, I'll say this, there's a quote, I forget who says it. They say that it's easier to go to Mars than to change the way a person thinks. And what that really is saying is that the way we think is a problem. The way we think is a problem. It's not necessarily that, the world is bad or the world is this. It's that not everyone, I will rephrase that. There's a bunch of people that aren't realizing who they are and who they are. And there's whole different, slices to who you are, whether that's, spiritually, you want to put in mentally, emotionally, your subconscious, like we talk about. But so many people don't know that. And then they get comfortable of not knowing that. And when someone says, like when me and Harrison say to you, like, you have the power to change your circumstance, it just starts from within. Now it puts responsibility on only you. So nobody can be the
scapegoat, you want to call it.
It's the scapegoat. Yeah, nobody could be the blame for your circumstance. The only person to put the blame on is you, but it's not like a shameful thing. It's more of a self-recognition, and then like you just move past it and move forward, right?
Right.
But to put it in your own hands takes so much responsibility, and I don't think this generation or any generation has ever wanted to take responsibility for their own lives. Why? Because it's all of a sudden you gotta learn more about yourself, and that takes time, and that's not fun. You gotta heal trauma. You gotta do all these things. You gotta acquire new knowledge, because now knowledge is power. Once knowledge is bought, it becomes power, I should say, instead. But yeah, I think that's the problem we run into, is that all of a sudden we have to take on this power and this responsibility, and it's like, hold on, like I kind of was content, maybe, or I was okay with the misery of living, that I was, I wasn't good enough or whatever, or I like being the victim. I think we get in that type of mode, and it's tough for people to get out of, Harrison.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll say this as we wrap up, kind of the quarter century worth of wisdom here. We're here talking about it. That is always by far the easiest part. So like me sitting here talking about it, it's never a lecture. I'll go home, and despite me probably having way less barricades than other people out there, I'll still run into the same thing. And talking about it is always a hell of a lot easier. I mean, it's those true moments where you got to really push yourself to get over the edge, because talking about it's always easier. It's the action part, the accountability part, that as brutal as it is up front, it's the momentum. It's the momentum that's going to carry you through it once you start putting that onus on yourself to make sure you're being the best version of yourself. You got to embrace the world and all its harshness and cruelty if you're going to come out the best possible version of yourself. So that's kind of my 2 cents to wrap up quarter century worth of wisdom. Chancellor, I'll let you add to it if you want to. Otherwise, we can dive in to some college football here and start teasing a little bit of fall camp.
Yeah, I guess I'll just say this to wrap it up. NASA did a thing with their astronauts a while back, and so to get them ready for ready for space and gravity and all that different stuff, they gave them glasses for 30 days that flipped everything upside down, right?
Mm.
And so they were, for the first couple of days, they're, having to put their toothpaste on the toothbrush the opposite way. Everything's flipped upside down, right?
Right.
But they get to day 25, and the mind or the subconscious flips everything back the original way. So what the astronauts are actually seeing out these distorted glasses is the correct way, but it's really not. It's just the mind got so used to it, right? The subconscious was framed, or the subconscious was rewired a certain way, and then they were able to see it the flipped way, but the correct way, right? If that makes any sense. So the principle from this is that it takes 25 to 30 days to rewire the subconscious. So it's not just this thing where you can just, okay, I'm just empowered now and I'm just going to flip my life. It takes 25 to 30 days of consistent action for that. So I guess I'll leave you with that. And obviously we got some Husker sports to talk about. I know you're probably like, what is this dude always talking about the subconscious mind? Hey, if one day I help someone, that's all that matters to me. But yeah, we got some Husker talk coming up. First day in camp, what it's like for them. I think I'll be able to provide some insight that some fans don't really get.
Well, let me ask you this, Chancellor. 25 days to switch the mindset. How many days to get ready for fall camp? I mean, that's a brutal. I've done it in high school. I can't imagine at the Power 5 D1 level. How do you get mentally ready for that? It's brutal. I can't imagine what it looks like if you don't walk in there prepared.
It's just open mind, open heart. There's no preparation that can be made for fall camp. There's nothing like it. I think the closest thing is, I would say football would be a lower level, but in some ways it's kind of the same as like military boot camp. I would honestly say so. Not obviously the getting ready for war aspect, but the part
the drilling, the rapid move. Like it's grueling. I think I get what you're saying in terms of like boot camp style, in terms of you get there, you go to work, you don't stop working, and you're moving the entire time.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next segment.
Absolutely. And to be real quick here, since we only got like a couple minutes left on this first one, I think would be great to tease us walking into this next segment. Let's hear from Rule himself, and we can expand on it. And I know we got some quotes as well we'll talk about. But here's Rule, emotions of fall camp. As currently he had his press conference today, the Oregon Ducks showed up, part of his tour throughout these new Big Ten schools. But here's Matt Rule's quotes on the emotions of fall camp.
Yeah, I think probably for the guys, it's a sense of relief. I think they've been highly anticipating it. I think this was a really, really hard summer. I asked Corey, I said, I don't care. Just give me a tough team. That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. And to the point that like when I'm in the office and they're working out, like I went out one time. I wanted, I never went out to watch them. I wanted them to have this time with themselves. So I think probably getting to football, getting out of, boot camp and getting to football is probably exciting for them, but also relief because I know a lot of these guys, the guys that came back because they want to get to the season. Now, what we have to do now is not start looking ahead to the games. We've got to just dominate every single day. And this is one of my favorite times of the year. My favorite time of year is probably like mat drill season, and I love this time of year. Obviously I love the games, don't get me wrong, but I just, watching these guys grow, develop, overcome adversity, it's fun.
There you have it. There's Matt Rule's thoughts on it. He did say something interesting. It's favorite time of the year. Chancellor, was it your favorite time of the year come fall camp?
It's like a different favorite type. It's like a favorite type.
I shouldn't say favorite because obviously the game day, especially for the players, but is there some actual joy and pride heading into this? Favorite's the wrong word to use. Oh,
yeah. Oh, bro. Like there was nothing about football that I didn't love. Like I loved like carrying the helmet out. Like I loved like the way like the cleats sound on the ground. Like it sounds crazy, and if some people might get it, but I loved the bruises. Like I loved feeling sore. Like there was like a pride, like a glory that came with it that I love. So I mean, there's a little sense of like, dang, this is gonna be hard. It's gonna suck. but it's like change your perspective on it. It's like, okay, but I get to play this game that I love. I get to finally hit people. I get to finally go against the defense that was talking mess this whole camp. I get to really refine my skills and get better at some certain techniques that I need and really just prepare for the year. That's all camp is.
Absolutely. We'll expand on it some more on the next segment. What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington? We got him on the Allo VIP line where they understand the importance of exceptional service with a local heart. We'll throw to our first break here, but we'll keep things rolling, obviously, with the focus on Husker football as, man, less than 30 days away, we'll be kicking off. So we'll keep it rolling here. What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington? We got the host on the VIP line. Don't go anywhere.
Mario fue pintor más de 30 años. Cuando me dijo que se le estaban olvidando las cosas, fue difícil. Un día me dijeron que pintara el marco del lado por dentro y pinté el lado de afuera.
Yo le diría a la gente que le diga a su familia lo que está pasando con él.
Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Visita alz.org/nuestras historias para saber más. Un mensaje de The Alzheimer's Association y The Ad Council.
The Nebraska legislature will soon meet in special session and may consider a vote to raise consumer prices by imposing a sales tax on advertising. Nebraska's small businesses would be hit hardest, forcing them to raise prices, meaning we'd all pay more for the things we need. Contact your state senator and tell them no ad tax. Visit noadtaxnebraska.com to find your senator's contact information. That's noadtaxnebraska.com. A message from the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Whether you like fishing together or fishing to get away, for the thrill of reeling in a big one, or just going out to have a good time, on the banks of your local pond, at a bend in a river, or on one of our many lakes and reservoirs, you'll always find the perfect place to cast a line, here, beneath Nebraska skies. Start planning your next fishing adventure today at letsfishnebraska.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Your child was embarrassed when you arrived at their basketball game. 75% of parents or guardians report current alcohol use. Drinking alcohol can cause harm to children and loved ones. By drinking less, your child will be excited to see you at their basketball game. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Are you a veteran looking for a new companion animal? A dog? A cat? Or maybe something else? The Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs Vets Get Pets program can cover up to $350 of your pet adoption fees. Visit veterans.nebraska.gov/vetsgetpets to learn more about program requirements and how to apply. Want to help support the program? Get your Vets Get Pets specialty license plates from the Nebraska DMV. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is area race announcer James Rowland. Join me and Bree Fan Steel every Sunday night from 7 to 8 on 93.7 The Ticket for the Finish Line, where we cover all things motorsports from local racing to racing around the world. Every Sunday night from 7 to 8 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Football season is nearly here, and your long wait for year 2 of Matt Rule is almost over. Gear up for the season with 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days from July 23rd to the 25th, live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Jay Foreman, Amon Green, Adam Carricker, Chancellor Brewington, Derek Pearson, Steve Sipple, Jake Sorensen, and Nick Sainer will be in Indy for our shows Tuesday through Thursday. getting the latest news from Nebraska and everyone else around the conference. Coverage of Big Ten Media Days is brought to you by 1890 Nebraska, Stevens and Smith Construction, The Complex, Warhorse Casino, and Riddles Jewelry. Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington. Quick house cleaning. Apologize on the last commercial. That one's a little bit outdated. As we're streaming, we have some of these pre-recorded. Please don't go to Indianapolis for Big Ten Media Days. Chancellor was already there. It's done and over with. That has already taken place. We are now officially in fall camp. Chancellor Brewington, I know you got some stuff ready for us. Where do you want to start? Chancellor, do we still got you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking about fall camp here. Where do you want to start with it? I know you got some notes with us ready for us, so I'll throw it to you, the host, as always.
Yeah, so I guess I would just want to give the people an idea of what fall camp is. I mean, people talk about fall camp and they say, you know, it's this all-day thing or it's these 2-a-day practices. I feel like there's a bunch of myths that go on about fall camp. Some rightfully so that are not myths, they are true, but some that aren't. And I guess I'll just clear up the smoke. And literally the smoke because I was thinking there's a fire in Loveland, Colorado right now. My mom has to evacuate her house
Lord.
if it gets a couple miles closer. So
Forest fire?
Yeah, forest fire.
God,
Forest fire.
just California and forest fires is all right. Thoughts and prayers out to them because I know those things that happen so often. Those are insane how fast they can sweep over. So hopefully it takes care of itself sooner than later.
Yeah. But back on topic. So fall camp, the dreaded, but the glorious, but the most, it's required. It makes so much sense. So this fall camp, man. So it starts off, obviously they're in the dorms, which is completely different. And we'll talk about that. We got some quotes from some guys from Media Day today.
And they did that last year too, correct? I want to say last year they also dormed.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So this was the second year and it had to be because it was productive last year. I know Rule, he wouldn't do something that didn't work. Right.
Yep.
So obviously there was some success to it, but it all starts off with, you obviously have a July 4th break and then you get a quick little 3-4 days right before fall camp. And why the fall camp break is so short is because you don't want to lose the conditioning, the strength that you just put all this work in. So you take a little quick break. Usually it's like a 3-day weekend. You come back, report date, you move in. There's a meeting, and in the meeting, it's always about expectations for fall camp. It will go like this. So, head coach will come up or strength coach will come up and give a kind of a summary of what he thought summer conditioning was like. Was it good? Was it, was there areas that they improved? Was there areas, that they still need to get better? What's required in the weight room during fall camp? Because there are lifts during fall camp. And those lifts are sometimes the worst. I'm not going to lie to you. They're really the worst sometimes when you're already sore. It's day 15 and you still have to go squat, 405 for 5 reps. So that's not always fun. But then the head coach usually obviously starts off the meeting. He'll give the schedule, 3 days on, 1 day off, 4 days on, 1 day off. Here's our scrimmages. Here's what we expect for our scrimmages, although he'll revisit those the night before and the day of scrimmage days. He'll give the expectations for camp. Things like we need to clean up fumbling. We need to clean up these different areas, these different issues. What he expects from camp, the tempo of practice, running from drill to drill. Areas in last camp where they did wrong. Did they not tackle well? Did they? There's this thing of thud where you make contact with a guy and you don't let him hit the ground. Were they bad at thud? Were they good at thud? Days where they're going to tackle, days where they're in full pads. They go through all the schedule stuff. And then it gets monotonous after that. It's like a bunch of, you need to be here. You need to be here. Here's a check-in. Here's this. So it's like a bunch of different stuff, right? But here's where the days go, Harrison. This is where it gets fun. This is where the camp stories come from. where you get the guys sleeping in meetings and just where all the stories come from. So we got to start the day off. You'll get probably a 6 a.m. or 5:30 wake up call. Breakfast is usually at 7. So, wake up around there. So from 7, you usually got, 30 minutes for breakfast, 45 minutes. First meeting might be at 8 a.m. first meeting or 7:45. You go to first meeting, usually it's special teams. Go to special teams. Quick, probably 15, 30-minute meeting. After special teams, go straight to position meetings. Probably 15 minutes, maybe an offensive meeting right after that as a unit, and then a defensive meeting as well, vice versa. And then you go out to practice, right? So then you already got 3 meetings under your belt before practice. Go out to practice, hour 30, at most 2-hour practice. You get back from practice, then here comes the lift. So possible lift. You go lift, you do your regen, or your recovery. Go get in the nice facility that Nebraska has. So right after recovery, now you got lunch. This is that, like, right after practice is the most downtime you get in fall camp. So when I say the most, usually it's like maybe hour 15. You might get an hour 15 is like, Harrison, that's like gold right there. If you
And
get
how
hour
much of
15
that
minutes
hour
during
is
camp,
recovery? I gotta add. I mean, all that entire hour has got to be just try to get yourself ready for the next day.
exactly. So if you think about it, if you just practice and you just sprained your ankle, or you just had a little nick and bruise, you're not going to spend the hour 15 resting and sleeping. A pro tip, a veteran tip that I got from James Jones. He's on ESPN. He does media for ESPN.
Yep.
But Packer's great. He used to always tell me when I first got into college, he said, don't take those downtimes to sleep. Get in the recovery room and do rehab. Like roll out, stretch, do all those things. Do not go to sleep during those times, because like those are like the priceless times. Like save your rest for nighttime. But so after lunch, get back to the schedule. After lunch, get a little free time. That's when you do your recovery and stuff like that. So then you got special teams meeting, right? Go over special teams meeting. Go over special teams practice, what you did in special teams, and then you'll preview the walkthrough coming up in the next day, right? So you'll get a walkthrough list of like what you have to be prepared for. So you already get like a task, right? So then you go into position meetings. Now these are lengthy position meetings. You meet about, the practice, watch film on it, yada, 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 get corrections, and then you'll preview walkthrough, right? Then you go offensive meeting. Offensive meeting, do the same exact thing. You go over practice. Coordinator kind of talks about what he liked, what he didn't like, and then you get a preview for walkthrough, and then you go to walkthrough, and walkthrough is like this. It's like this walking. It's obviously walking pace, but it's super detailed. You still use your techniques. It's not like a thing where you just literally walk through. Like there's sometimes where you point your route, but most of the time, coaches like to see the technique. So if it's hands inside, if it's playing off your third step on the outside, playing off your inside foot, they want to see that type of stuff, right? And so if your quarterback still work on your footwork, your progressions, it's still that type of stuff, right? So then you go walk through, and then you got dinner. And dinner is where like everyone's just like mentally like checked out. I'm gonna be honest with you. Everyone's just like, they're eating their, steak or whatever it is, and they're just like eyes are low. You're not even on, the guys aren't even on their phones. They're just like, just crapped out at that point.
Yeah, you just went through 100 meetings on top of it. I mean, what blows my mind about fall camp, and I think it's underrated, you mentioned just meeting after meeting. I mean, not only is it the physical strain, mental strain, especially if you're a freshman coming in there, you're taking in a lot.
Right. That's why I heard PJ Fleck say this, and I'll steal this from him. He said the jump from high school to college is the biggest gap as a football player you ever take. From college to pro, there's a gap, but if you're a good player, you're going to be able to make it in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But the high school jump to college is like no other. It's high school. You don't have any responsibilities as a football player. Seriously, there's really no written playbook. It's kind of just like he say, she say, like, you know, just run the post route, run the dig. At college, there's all these different stuff. And I didn't even mention Harrison. And for the listeners out there, during this time, they're relearning the playbook. This is not like we're just going through different plays for the season. No, you're relearning the whole Nebraska offense/defense and special teams. So it goes like install 1, install 2, install 3, install 4, install 5. So each day for the first 5 days of this first fall camp week, they're going to be learning install 1. And install 1 will basically just be all your base concepts, everything base. If you're running inside zone. If you're running, you know, hitches, you're running hitches. All your RPOs, you're just getting a base. If you're running four verts. Just all your base stuff, right? But then as it evolves, now if you're running inside zone, now you got like RPO off of it, and now you got this, and now you got split zone off it. Now you got a draw off of it, and like all these different things, right? And okay, but to get back to the schedule, right after dinner, then you have a team meeting, and the team meetings, Harrison, when I tell you, these be the most pointless meetings of all time. I'm being respectful, and every coach knows this. The only reason why these team meetings happen, I'm gonna give the secret out, is so nobody goes out. This is not just Nebraska. This is every school across the nation has these late night team meetings at like dinner probably gets done at 8, from like 8 to like 10 or 8 to 9:30. There's these meetings that happen, and sometimes compliance will talk about some serious issues. Sometimes we'll have guest speakers. Most of the time it's guest speakers. But the head coach will go over practice, what he liked, what he didn't like. And then you'll have like each position coach will give a speech, right? Mm-hmm. So each position coach throughout camp will give a speech usually from like higher up assistant coaches, meaning like analysts to like offensive coordinator. So they'll all give a speech, and it's funny, they'll all give the same opening statement. It'll all go like this. It'll be like, I just want to thank Coach blank, blank, blank for allowing me the opportunity to speak. And, I just value this time and the way he handles the program and the culture we're building here. It's the same exact thing, but I respect it.
But hey, you're not going out. The boys are getting working. Motivational work.
The boys are getting work, and so the coaches will give their spiel. But yeah, there's like different people that come and talk during the nighttime meetings. Some of them are fun, some of them are engaging, some of them are, if you had a bad practice, you're probably gonna get ripped for the whole hour and 30. There's not gonna be a bunch of fun stuff. But then you get your snack right after that. Like, you get your little. You do the food trucks or something, and then you go to bed. You get home about 10 o'clock, and it is what it is. Like, that's every day. There's no like, we're not going to do a walkthrough today. Like, no, every day is the same. The only days that switch up are scrimmage days, because then usually you get a day off, and the day offs are not day offs. Day offs are just no practice. So the whole schedule, it's just no practice. Let me ask you 10 meetings a day.
As we're running out of time here on the second segment, excuse me. How do you stay focused on, I just got to make today the best day? Like you, at least to my mind, you cannot be looking forward to UTEP at all at this point. Like, you really got to lock in on that day, not even what tomorrow is, but on that day only, until you get to that meeting at the very end of the day before you can even start thinking about tomorrow. Like, how did you personally stay focused on, I just got this one day, I'm not even thinking about tomorrow?
Yeah, I think the main thing is be where your feet are. And, that's why I say it's so hard to prepare for it, because there's nothing really like it in the football world. Yeah, I would just say be where your feet are, and not try to look ahead too much. Like, oh, it's only day 4, and we got 6 more weeks or 5 or 4 more weeks of this. Like, it's not about that. It's about, did I get better today? How did I sharpen my tools? How did I sharpen my blade? Did I help out a teammate? Did I make a teammate better? Was I coachable today? Like, did I get something out of today? Did my coach give me something that I can take into the season, that I'll be a better player for the team and for myself, actually? So I think that's the best way to look at it. And I think that's the only way to look at it, to be honest. I mean, you can't look at it like this is 35 days of my life that I'm about to be, like yada, yada, yada. If you look at it like that, like you're just toast from the beginning. But if you look at it from a growth mindset and just say, okay, like I can really grow each day. I can really get better each day. And it's not only opportunity to get better, but this is how great teams are created and formed. If you have that perspective, that's the best way. And they're in the dorms this year. And I was looking at an interview quickly before we go into the next break. Javen Wright, my dog, Buddha Man, he said a quote in the interview. I forget who it was. Asked him, was it like living in the dorms as opposed to, staying in your apartments like they did previously before Rule got there? And he said this, you got to change your perspective on living in the dorms. You cut out all the distractions. You get focused on yourself and on football and building your mind spiritually, mentally, and emotionally.
That's a perfect way to end the segment, I think, because if that doesn't tell you what football camp's about, or what fall camp's about, having to just completely change your perspective like that. Wise words from your guy, Javen Wright. Chancellor, what do we got on the next segment? I'll let you tease it because I know you're probably pretty excited about it.
Oh my gosh! So, no, I'm gonna be cool about it. I'm gonna be cool. But next segment, we're gonna talk about a little bit USA basketball and specifically LeBron's role on this USA basketball team is very interesting, and I'm going to give my thoughts, and let's hope Harrison can give some glass half full perspective, growth mindset, optimistic perspective on what LeBron is doing in this USA basketball team.
I'll give it my best shot. Up next, what's Brewing Chancellor Brewington? Don't go anywhere.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a great workout, you get a great perk out because your membership is packed with perks. For $1 down and $24.99 a month, you'll get perks like access to any of our 2,400 clean and spacious locations. Bring your friend anytime and both work out with tons of equipment that'll give you that big fitness energy. Relax in the Black Card spa and more. Work out and perk out with the PF Black Card. Join for just $1 down and $24.99 a month.
Hurry, this deal ends soon.
See Home Club for details.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you wanna come and text us,
if you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
this is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
The Nebraska legislature will soon meet in special session and may consider a vote to raise consumer prices by imposing a sales tax on advertising. Nebraska's small businesses would be hit hardest, forcing them to raise prices, meaning we'd all pay more for the things we need. Contact your state senator and tell them no ad tax. Visit noadtaxnebraska.com to find your senator's contact information. That's noadtaxnebraska.com. A message from the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
If it was the Big Ten and the SEC and the Big 12 and the ACC's idea to kick back to grow the game at lower levels, we wouldn't have these conversations. Right. But because the NCAA is asking them to do that, it feels like they're getting their wallet stolen, money taken out of it, and it's not their idea, so they're against it.
Yeah.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, wrapping things up here on What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington. We got the host, as always, Chancellor. Go figure. His name's in the name of the show on the Allo VIP line, where they understand the importance of exceptional service with a local heart. If you guys got any last-second comments, feel free to put them in the stream. But, Chancellor, I'll throw it to you. You teased it with LeBron James. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, I guess I'll kind of ruffle some feathers right now. Kind of feel like I'm in that business right now with the LeBron stuff, but I guess I want to ask you this from a non-biased point of view, Harrison. I want your take on it because I was around some OGs and they were, talking about LeBron in a different light, and I was like, hold on, this is different. I've been seeing on social media too. I feel like all the eyes are on USA basketball right now. It's fun to watch. Are people seeing LeBron in a new light?
Yeah. Here we go, Chancellor. You'll never expect it. He's been incredible. Absolutely incredible throughout this entire thing. What is it? He's going to be 40 this year. He's clearly the leader of that team. He played dominant against Serbia. Wow, it helps when you got KD going 8 for 9, 5 for 5 from the three-point line. But LeBron's clearly the leader of this team. And what blows my mind the most about LeBron James, at the end of those games, he's not the most tired one. At damn near 40, he looks in better shape than guys like Anthony Edwards, hell, even Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum, who didn't even get in the game. LeBron James' conditioning is out of control. That's what's impressed me the most about him. And the other thing, I think LeBron James would be better in FIBA. Now, hear me out. With his play style, his play style actually fits the FIBA rules incredibly well. Like, he thrives in that environment because it just allows him as an elite high IQ playmaker to really thrive in a team system. And it's a version of LeBron I actually enjoy watching more than the NBA version. He thrives in the FIBA role.
Yeah, and what makes me curious, I should say, makes me curious. If I'm Rob Pelinka, what am I thinking right now? What am I thinking? Am I thinking like, oh my gosh, like, does it look bad on Rob Pelinka? Because LeBron, this is what LeBron is showing and what we've known, but what he's confirming right now is, well, I've known this, that he's lost a step, but he's still one of the best players in the world.
No question.
Right?
No question.
No question. No question. And to be honest, he's the best player right now on the best team, right?
No question.
So
again.
you can say what you want there. I'm not going to say he's the best player in the NBA, but he's definitely can carry himself as such, right? But it boils down to the environment and the players he's playing with. So now it goes to the Lakers just need to provide LeBron with adequate talent. Obviously you can't go get Steph Curry, KD, and Anthony Edwards, but it shows that LeBron is more than capable of leading a team and of having these great performances. I think we're finally seeing not finally, but we're seeing like a new energy with LeBron, a surge of not confidence, but a surge of I don't know, new health, new legs or something like that. But I think that comes with being around guys that can play, like literally that can play and are consistent and are healthy. I can only imagine what the Lakers are thinking. Like, man, we have this dude on our team, and we're still a playing team. You know,
this is where I would say, and I've always thought this with LeBron, even in the NBA. And it makes sense with the USA. He's literally he's with the best players in the USA.
Right.
He thrives with guys that understand basketball at a high level. Always has, always will. You have to give him players that have high IQ, that know how to move without the ball, that know how to slash cut, how to get open when LeBron's orchestrating the offense. Because as much as people want to, think at times LeBron can be ISO, beat the air out of the ball, if you know how to play basketball, he will whip that thing around the court because he knows what the best shot's going to be. But if he doesn't trust you, he will take things over in his own hands because he knows you're probably not going to make the pass that's needed. And if he gives it to you, you might think, D'Angelo Russell, I think even at times kind of gets in his own head like, oh, it's my turn to shoot now. LeBron's, giving me the ball. Sometimes he wants you to shoot. Sometimes he wants you to make the next play. And he just hasn't always been surrounded with guys that have that high IQ, that acumen of just solid playmaking ability and ball movement and understanding how to move players around on the court. I still will say I would just be in heaven if I could watch LeBron James and Jokic on the same roster.
Oh my God.
I mean, that IQ would just be out of control and nobody's stopping that team.
Yeah. So, and one more point, I know we got to wrap up here soon, but so one of the guys he's playing with, obviously Kevin Durant, one of the, best three man of all time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He comes back, doesn't miss a beat. He comes in 21 points first half. And so I guess my question is, where does Tatum sit in all of this? Steve Kerr said he didn't play because of a mismatch problem. Where does he sit in this? Is it a thing where, he's just going to have to fit in where he fits in? Can we sneak him in and play big ball and, put him at a 2 sometimes? Like, where does he fit on this USA team?
I think he unfortunately sits on the bench more often than not.
Oh boy.
Steve Kerr did mention he's going to get in this next game versus South Sudan. Again, kind of highlighting the importance of matchups. And this isn't to say Tatum's a bad player. When you are dealing with the best players of the NBA, you're going to have to sit down some all NBA guys, some maybe even future Hall of Famers. So with Tatum, though, and I kind of even felt this with the Celtics. I think he's a fantastic player, but who's the best player throughout those playoffs? Was it Brown or was it Holiday even at times? Tatum had a great game at the end, but that was when the pressure was off. Like, he never had a moment when the pressure was really intense where he was able to pull through and drag that team to a finish, despite having better talent around him. It was other guys that actually picked up the torch, no pun intended, with the Olympics. But I think we're kind of seeing that with Tatum. I think he's a fantastic player, but I actually think in this pecking order, it makes sense. Tyrese Haliburton, I'm still unsure. I just think his ball movement would be a plus, but with the way they played against Serbia, I'm not too worried about it either. He might just have to be that other guy that has to sit.
Right. It'll be interesting to see, and even the dynamic between who's going to be the two guard. Is it D-Book or is it Ant? If Ant's hot, right now, which I think he is, do you still go ahead and play D-Book? But it's going to be interesting to see, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And to wrap things up, I know we're going to talk about it, but U.S. Soccer quarterfinals, first time since 2000. Who would have thought? Looks like they got something going with the young guys. And of course, basketball, their next game Tuesday, South Sudan. Well, excuse me, not Tuesday, Wednesday. That is tomorrow, 2 p.m. And then we'll play South Sudan. So, Chancellor Brewington, appreciate the time as always. We'll do it again tomorrow. And for everybody else, we'll keep Ticket Weeknights rolling. We'll talk to you in just a little bit.
Yes, sir.